I pull into my driveway, the tension from my long flight still knotted in my shoulders. The sun is setting, casting an orange glow over the neighborhood. All I want is to drop my bags, collapse onto my couch, and feel the comfort of home. Yet as I click the remote for the garage door, nothing happens. I try it a few more times, but the door stays down. Frustrated, I park on the curb and head to the front door, fumbling with my keys. But when I shove the house key into the lock, it won't turn. At first, I think I've grabbed the wrong set, but after checking, I realize this is definitely the right one. I try again, but the lock holds fast. My pulse quickens. What the hell? I step back and examine the front of the house, half expecting to see some obvious sign of a break-in or damage, but everything looks perfectly normal. I press the doorbell. No answer. I knock hard, my frustration building with each unanswered beat. "Claire," I shout, my voice echoing in the evening air. "Open up. It's me." Footsteps echo from inside. Relief starts to settle in, but then I hear the lock turn. Not to open, but with a metallic click, as if sealing me out more. Claire's voice comes, muffled but strangely firm. "Dylan, you don't live here anymore." My heart stops. "What?" I stammer. "Claire, let me in." "What are you talking about?" She pauses. I can almost feel the tension radiating from the other side of the door. "You've been served, Dylan," she finally says, her voice tight, almost triumphant. "The papers should be in your mailbox. You need to stay away. This is not your home anymore." A surge of anger and confusion collides in my chest. I press my forehead against the door. "Claire, stop this. Let's talk." But I know something terrible has happened. Something that changed my entire world while I was gone. Just as I'm about to demand answers, a figure steps out of the shadows of the driveway. I turn to see a man in a uniform, a police officer. He has one hand on his belt and a hard expression. "Sir," he says, with a tone that makes it clear he means business. "Step away from the door. We have a restraining order. You need to leave now." Shock turns my limbs to stone. "Restraining order?" I echo. This must be a nightmare. A terrible prank. But the officer doesn't look amused, and neither does the man who appears next, wearing a smug grin and holding an envelope. "Dylan Miller?" he asks, thrusting the papers at me. "You've been served." My mind reels as I stumble back down the steps. The world spins, my life unraveling with each word I read on that envelope. I drop the envelope to the ground, its ominous weight pulling at me even as it lays there, still and lifeless. My chest tightens, and for a moment, I can't move. The police officer eyes me with a mix of sympathy and authority. "Mr. Miller," he says, "you need to collect your belongings and leave peacefully. Any breach of this order will be taken very seriously." My hands tremble as I stoop to pick up the papers. I don't know what hits me harder, the ache in my heart or the humiliation of my neighbors peering out from their windows, witnessing this drama unfold. Claire has changed the locks. The woman who whispered her promises of forever to me in this very house has now locked me out, replaced me like some broken appliance. I stumble back to my car, trying to process what's happened. My mind flashes through every argument, every small sign I might have ignored. How did we come to this point? I sit there, numb, until the officer signals me to move along. With no other choice, I start the engine and drive off. My grip so tight on the wheel it hurts. My phone vibrates, but I don't need to look to know who it is. My best friend, Jake, has been trying to reach me since I landed. I finally pull over a few blocks away and answer. "Dylan, man, where are you?" Jake's voice is urgent, concerned. "I just heard." "What the hell happened?" I explain in broken pieces, voice strained. Jake listens in stunned silence. "She changed the locks, served you with divorce papers, and filed a restraining order," he repeats, almost as if he can't believe it either. "Yes," I breathe out, the word tasting bitter in my mouth. "I don't know what the hell is going on." A pause. "Listen, you can stay at my place," he offers. "Just get over here. We'll figure this out." I agree, though my mind is racing. The drive to Jake's feels like a blur, my vision foggy with the reality crashing down on me. When I finally reach his place, he's standing at the door waiting. The sight of a familiar face almost makes my knees buckle. We sit in his living room, a beer in my hand that I'm not even drinking. You think she's seeing someone? Jake asks, his tone dark. You know how these things usually go. I shake my head, though doubt gnaws at me. Claire and I had issues, but this? She's not that person, I mutter, but even I don't sound convinced. The little things come back to me. The way she started pulling away, the nights she claimed to work late, the way she smiled at texts she'd never show me. Jake leans forward. I'll help you get to the bottom of this. Whatever she's hiding, we'll find out. A surge of anger burns away the numbness. Yeah, I agree, my jaw clenching. If she's betrayed me, I need to know the truth. And just like that, the determination returns. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. I drop the envelope to the ground, its ominous weight pulling at me even as it lays there, still and lifeless. My chest tightens, and for a moment, I can't move. The police officer eyes me with a mix of sympathy and authority. Mr. Miller, he says, you need to collect your belongings and leave peacefully. Any breach of this order will be taken very seriously. My hands tremble as I stoop to pick up the papers. I don't know what hits me harder, the ache in my heart or the humiliation of my neighbors peering out from their windows, witnessing this drama unfold. Claire has changed the locks. The woman who whispered her promises of forever to me in this very house has now locked me out, replaced me like some broken appliance. I stumble back to my car, trying to process what's happened. My mind flashes through every argument, every small sign I might have ignored. How did we come to this point? I sit there, numb, until the officer signals me to move along. With no other choice, I start the engine and drive off. My grip so tight on the wheel it hurts. My phone vibrates, but I don't need to look to know who it is. My best friend, Jake, has been trying to reach me since I landed. I finally pull over a few blocks away and answer. Dylan, man, where are you? Jake's voice is urgent, concerned. I just heard. What the hell happened? I explain in broken pieces, voice strained. Jake listens in stunned silence. She changed the locks, served you with divorce papers, and filed a restraining order. He repeats, almost as if he can't believe it either. Yes, I breathe out, the word tasting bitter in my mouth. I don't know what the hell is going on. A pause. Listen, you can stay at my place, he offers. Just get over here. We'll figure this out. I agree, though my mind is racing. The drive to Jake's feels like a blur, my vision foggy with the reality crashing down on me. When I finally reach his place, he's standing at the door waiting. The sight of a familiar face almost makes my knees buckle. We sit in his living room, a beer in my hand that I'm not even drinking. You think she's seeing someone? Jake asks, his tone dark. You know how these things usually go. I shake my head, though doubt gnaws at me. Claire and I had issues, but this? She's not that person, I mutter, but even I don't sound convinced. The little things come back to me. The way she started pulling away, the nights she claimed to work late, the way she smiled at texts she'd never show me. Jake leans forward. I'll help you get to the bottom of this. Whatever she's hiding, we'll find out. A surge of anger burns away the numbness. Yeah, I agree, my jaw clenching. If she's betrayed me, I need to know the truth. And just like that, the determination returns. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. The next morning, sunlight filters through the blinds of Jake's spare bedroom, stabbing into my eyes. I didn't sleep much. How could I? My mind is a relentless reel of memories, questions, and gut-wrenching emotions. Claire's voice echoes in my head, her laughter, her promises. How did everything fall apart so suddenly? Jake is already in the kitchen when I stumble out, my face haggard from the sleepless night. He slides a cup of strong black coffee across the table. You look like hell, he says, trying to bring a touch of humor to the situation. I appreciate the effort, but I can't muster a smile. I sip the coffee, feeling it burn down my throat. I have to figure out what's going on, I say. I can't sit here and let Claire ruin me. Jake's eyes narrow. I've been thinking about that. There are ways we can dig into this. He leans in, his voice lowering. You still have access to her email or anything like that? The question makes me pause. Claire was careful, but not careful enough. Her phone password, I recall. She never changed it. And her social media? I know how to get in. Jake's expression sharpens. Then we start there. I grab my laptop from the duffel bag I packed hastily before crashing here. As I log into Claire's Facebook and other accounts, a strange mixture of guilt and anger churns in my stomach. I'm invading her privacy, but she betrayed my trust first. This isn't snooping, it's self-defense. Messages, notifications, emails. I start combing through everything, and it's not long before the first clue smacks me in the face. A string of messages to someone named Brandon. My hands freeze over the keyboard, a sick feeling rising. Jake peers over my shoulder. "Who the hell is Brandon?" he asks, but the way my hands start shaking gives him the answer. I click the messages, opening a flood of late-night exchanges, heart emojis, and inside jokes. The timestamps on these conversations overlap with the nights she told me she was working late. My pulse pounds in my ears. "Damn," Jake mutters, leaning back. "It's him, isn't it?" I nod, my teeth clenched so hard it hurts. But it gets worse. As I scroll, I find messages planning trips, meeting up at places only a few hours away from home. She even mentions me. "Dylan suspects something, but I'll handle it," she wrote. The casual way she dismissed me like an afterthought makes my vision blur with fury. Jake looks ready to hit something, but he keeps his cool. "We're not going to let her win," he says, a determined edge in his voice. "We're going to make her regret crossing you." I don't respond, just stare at the screen, a new plan forming in my mind. Claire thought she could play me, lock me out of my own life, and walk away unscathed. But if she's underestimated me, she's about to learn just how wrong she is. The air feels heavy, charged with the weight of betrayal and the beginnings of a plan. I pace Jake's living room, every step echoing with the drive to take back control. My mind races, alternating between the pain of her lies and the fire of revenge. I never wanted this. I never imagined I'd be strategizing how to outsmart the woman I once loved more than anything. But here I am. Jake watches me from the couch, his concern barely masked. "So, what's the next move?" he asks, snapping me out of my thoughts. "We have the proof she's seeing Brandon, but how do you want to play this?" I sit down, rubbing my temples. "We need more," I say, my voice rough. "Something that will ensure she can't twist the narrative in court. If she's willing to lie and manipulate me, she'll do anything to keep what she wants." Jake nods. "You're thinking of going deeper, tracking her movements, maybe even catching her in the act?" The idea sends a chill through me, but I know he's right. I hate the thought of invading Claire's life this way, but she's forced my hand. I can't afford to lose any more ground. "Yeah," I say, finally looking at him. "If she wants to play dirty, then so will I." Jake gives a grim smile. "I have a buddy who's good with tech. He can help us with surveillance, GPS tracking, whatever you need." I can feel the reluctance in my gut, but there's no room for hesitation. "Set it up," I say, the resolve in my voice surprising even me. "I want to know every move she makes." Jake pulls out his phone to make a call, and I sink back into the couch. The guilt tries to creep in, but I shove it down. Claire is the one who turned our life into a game of secrets and lies. I'm just trying to survive it. As Jake arranges things, I take a moment to check my own email. Among the flood of messages from clients and colleagues, there's one from an old friend, Mark, who I haven't spoken to in ages. The subject line is simple: "You okay, man?" I click on it, curiosity piqued. "Hey Dylan, just heard some rumors going around," Mark's email reads. "Not sure if you're aware, but people are talking about you and Claire. If you need anything or just want to talk, I'm here." I clench my jaw, my anger flaring anew. Rumors? How deep does her deception run, and how many people knew about it before I did? The thought of being the last to know, of being the fool in everyone's eyes, stings more than I want to admit. I make a silent vow to myself. I won't be the fool any longer. Jake finishes his call and looks at me. "It's done," he says. "We'll have eyes on Claire by tomorrow morning. In the meantime, you should rest." Rest. The idea feels foreign, almost absurd, but I nod. I need to keep my strength, my focus. This is only the beginning, and I have to be ready for whatever comes next. As I lie in Jake's spare room again, staring up at the ceiling, I realize something else. This isn't just about catching Claire or proving her betrayal. It's about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and making sure she doesn't get away with tearing everything apart. Whatever it takes, I'm not going down without a fight. The following morning arrives far too soon, sunlight spilling through the blinds and painting the room in a harsh, unwelcome glow. I drag myself out of bed, my body heavy with exhaustion and the weight of everything that lies ahead. But there's no room for weakness now. Today is about taking action. Jake's buddy, Ethan, arrives around mid-morning, a wiry guy with a mischievous grin and eyes that seem to notice everything. "So, you're the one who needs some digital surveillance," he says, his tone light but professional. He sets a backpack on the table and starts pulling out gear. Small tracking devices, tiny cameras, and other tools I wouldn't even know how to name. "Here's the plan," Ethan explains. "We'll install a GPS tracker on her car. It's discreet, and she'll never notice. For the cameras, I'll help set one up in a location you have access to, maybe her home office window or a place nearby." He looks at me expectantly. I hesitate for a moment, the invasion of privacy still gnawing at my conscience. But then I think of those messages to Brandon, the betrayal that's already poisoned everything. I nod, jaw set. Her home office should work. She never locks those windows, and I can get in tonight. Ethan's grin widens. "Good man. We'll make sure you have everything you need to get the footage. Just remember, we're looking for clear evidence of her involvement with Brandon. The more undeniable it is, the better your case." Jake slaps me on the back as Ethan heads outside to get the tracker ready. "We'll get through this, Dylan. Claire won't know what hit her." I offer a weak smile, but inside I'm bracing myself. This isn't just a game. It's a fight for my sanity, my future, and whatever scraps of dignity I can salvage. Later that night, armed with the small camera Ethan provided, I drive to the house that no longer feels like mine. I park a block away, walking the rest of the distance with my heart thudding in my chest. It feels like I'm preparing for a heist, but instead of stealing something, I'm trying to reclaim my life. The street is quiet, the kind of silence that presses on your ears. I crouch near the side of the house, where the home office window sits slightly ajar, just as I remembered. Carefully, I pry it open further and slide the small camera onto the bookshelf inside, aiming it to cover the entire room. My hands tremble as I secure it. One wrong move and this could all blow up in my face. Footsteps crunch on the gravel driveway. I freeze, my breath catching in my throat. The motion-activated porch light flicks on, illuminating Claire as she steps out of the house. She's on her phone, laughter bubbling up from her lips. "I'll be there soon," she says, voice soft and flirtatious. "You know how much I've missed you." My stomach churns. I watch from the shadows, rage and pain mixing into a volatile cocktail inside me. She slips into her car, completely unaware that I'm right there, watching as she drives away. Once she's gone, I climb out of the bushes and back to my car, every muscle in my body taut with fury. Jake is waiting for me at his place, but even his steady presence doesn't cool the burning inside me. "She's gone," I tell him, my voice harsh. "And she's meeting him. We're not just guessing anymore. It's real." Jake leans forward. "Then let's make sure the truth sees the light of day." I grip the table so hard my knuckles go white. If Claire thought she could fool me, she was dead wrong. This is war. The next day, I wake up to a message from Ethan. The GPS tracker is up and running, sending real-time updates to an app he installed on my phone. I sit up in bed, staring at the blinking. That represents Claire's car, feeling a mix of dread and determination. Now I'll know where she goes and whom she meets. There's no more hiding. I pull on some clothes and stumble into the kitchen, where Jake is making breakfast. He hands me a plate of eggs and bacon, trying to act like things are normal. But the tension between us is palpable. "Anything yet?" he asks, nodding toward my phone. I shake my head, though I can't tear my eyes away from the screen. "Not yet, but I'll be ready." Jake sits down across from me. "So, what happens when we have the proof?" he asks. "You know this is more than just catching her in the act. You need to be smart about your next move." He's right. and the reality of it hits me like a punch to the gut. This isn't a movie where the hero exposes the villain and everything wraps up neatly. Claire and I share a home, a history, and our lives are tangled in ways that won't be easily undone. But if I'm going to come out of this with anything, I have to be calculated. I'm going to use it, I finally say. In court, with the lawyers. I'm not going to let her take everything from me, Jake. She started this war, but I'm going to finish it. He nods, respect in his eyes. Good. Just make sure you're ready for the fallout. I try to smile, but my stomach is still a roiling pit of anxiety. The rest of the day drags by, my phone constantly in my hand. I check the GPS every few minutes, even though I know it's pointless. But in the late afternoon, the dot begins to move. My pulse quickens, and I watch as Claire's car leaves our neighborhood and heads toward a more remote part of town. Jake, I call out, grabbing my keys. She's on the move. He rushes over, his own adrenaline kicking in. Where is she going? I point to the map. Someplace by the lake. I have to see this with my own eyes. Jake looks hesitant, but he knows better than to argue. Be careful, man. You don't know what you're walking into. I nod, though I'm barely listening. The drive to the lake is a blur, my hands gripping the wheel, heart hammering in my chest. The closer I get, the more I feel like a rubber band stretched to its limit, ready to snap. I park my car far enough away to stay hidden, but close enough to see the clearing by the water. And there she is. Claire stands next to her car, laughing and smiling, the wind catching her hair. My breath catches as I see Brandon step out of his own car, wrapping her in a way too familiar embrace. The world slows down, and I watch as she kisses him, their closeness a knife to my heart. Everything I've tried to deny, to hope against, is right there in front of me. The woman I loved, who I built my life with, betraying me so openly, so confidently. I snap a series of photos on my phone, each click a tiny piece of evidence that I wish I didn't have to collect. My hands shake, but I force myself to focus. This isn't just about the pain. It's about what I'll do with it. When I can't take it anymore, I slip back into my car and drive away, the images burned into my mind. There's no denying the truth now, and the next phase of my plan has to begin. Back at Jake's place, I close the door behind me and sink onto the couch, feeling like the wind has been knocked out of me. My hands are still trembling as I scroll through the photos I took. Each image is a fresh wound, but they're also a weapon, proof that will make Claire's lies impossible to defend. Jake looks up from the TV, concern darkening his expression. You got it, he asks quietly. I nod, wordlessly handing him my phone. He swipes through the photos, his jaw clenching tighter with each one. Damn, he mutters. This isn't just some office flirtation. She's in deep with this guy. The reality of it settles like a lead weight in my chest. Yeah, I say, voice hollow. And she's been hiding it for who knows how long. Everything she's done. It's all been to protect this affair. Jake sets the phone down and leans forward. So, what's next? You have the evidence now. Do you confront her, or go straight to a lawyer? The question hangs heavy between us. Part of me wants to march up to Claire, throw the photos in her face, and demand answers. But I know that's not the smartest move. She's already played me, manipulated the narrative, and set things in motion to screw me over. I have to be strategic. I need to talk to a lawyer first, I finally say. Get my ducks in a row before she can pull any more tricks. She's already filed that restraining order, changed the locks. She's trying to paint me as the villain. I need to be prepared. Jake nods, his expression hardening. I know a guy. He's a shark when it comes to cases like this. I can make a call. Do it, I reply, my resolve sharpening. The sooner, the better. The next morning, I sit in a sleek, intimidating office, my heart pounding in a way that has nothing to do with the polished decor. My new attorney, a man named Simon Barnes, is reviewing the photos and all the details I've laid out about Claire's betrayal and the restraining order. Simon is in his late 40s, with sharp eyes that seem to miss nothing. He sets the photos down and steeples his fingers. You've been played, he says bluntly, his voice carrying a chill. Your wife has set a legal trap, and it's designed to put you at a disadvantage. But now that we have this evidence, we can turn the tables. His words give me a sliver of hope. How do we do that? He leans back in his chair, calculating. First, we'll counter her restraining order. With these photos and proof of her affair, we can argue that she's trying to manipulate the court's perception of you. Second, we'll push for a financial audit. If she's hiding anything else, we'll find it. And finally, we'll ensure your assets are protected. She won't get a free ride at your expense. I let out a shaky breath, the relief crashing over me. Finally, someone is in my corner, and I have a plan to fight back. Thank you, I murmur. I need to win this. Simon gives a thin smile. We'll make sure she doesn't get away with this. As I leave his office, a newfound determination fills me. Claire thought she could destroy me, but I'm not the broken man she expected. I'm stronger than she knows, and now, I have a weapon she can't defend against. Back at Jake's, I share the plan with him, and for the first time in days, he gives me a genuine grin. Sounds like you're finally getting the upper hand. I clench my fists, feeling the drive to keep pushing forward. Yeah, I say, my voice steady. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. The days blur together as I prepare for the next stage of this battle. Simon moves quickly, filing the necessary counterclaims and setting up a meeting with Claire's attorney. My nerves are raw, a constant hum under my skin. But there's no room for weakness. I have to keep moving, keep fighting. I spend most of my time at Jake's place, trying to avoid thinking about how my life has spiraled. Late one evening, while Jake is out, I find myself staring at my wedding photos on my phone, the memories sharp and painful. The promises we made seem like a cruel joke now. The woman I married is gone, replaced by someone I barely recognize. A knock at the door pulls me from my thoughts. I tense, half expecting some new ambush from Claire, but it's only Jake returning from his shift. He tosses his keys on the counter and looks at me with a mix of pity and concern. How are you holding up? I shrug, unable to summon much of a response. Just trying to keep it together. Jake sits across from me, serious. Look, I know this sucks, but I've been thinking about something. Claire's not just cheating. She's playing a deeper game, right? What if there's more going on? The thought chills me, but I nod. I've been wondering the same thing. She filed that restraining order so quickly, changed the locks before I even knew what was happening. It's almost like she was preparing for this. But why? Jake's eyes narrow. You know Brandon works in finance, right? What if they're planning something with your money, your assets? The possibility makes my stomach drop. I hadn't considered that angle, but it makes sense. Claire and Brandon could be plotting more than just a new life together. They could be trying to financially ruin me in the process. I feel the anger rise again, hot and consuming. Then we need to find out, I say, my voice cold. I won't let them take everything from me. Jake grins, a hint of mischief lighting up his face. I've got an idea. If Brandon's involved in something shady, we might be able to dig it up. A buddy of mine works in cyber investigations. He owes me a favor. I nod, a spark of hope igniting in my chest. Set it up, I say. If they're hiding something, we'll expose it. The next day, I'm back at Simon's office, this time armed with a new angle. As I explain my suspicions about Claire and Brandon's possible financial schemes, Simon's eyes narrow with interest. It's a plausible theory, he admits. People don't usually go to such extreme lengths unless there's something to gain. He leans forward. We'll start by freezing any joint accounts and assets. That way, if they try to drain your resources, they'll be blocked. We'll also request a forensic audit of both your finances and hers. If there's anything shady, we'll find it. The idea of Claire and Brandon being thwarted fills me with a grim sense of satisfaction. But Simon isn't finished. In the meantime, he says, we'll need more leverage. Keep your ears to the ground. If you can get any information about their plans, it could be crucial. I leave the office feeling a sense of purpose. This is no longer just about betrayal. It's about protecting myself from the fallout. I meet Jake for lunch at a small diner, sharing Simon's plan. He nods, looking more energized than I feel. Good, he says. We're making progress. And remember, my buddy is working on that cyber investigation. If Brandon's left any digital footprints, we'll find them. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. The fight is far from over, but at least now I have a weapon in hand. Claire and Brandon think they've outsmarted me, but they have no idea what I'm capable of. If they want to play dirty, then so be it. I'm ready for whatever comes next. Later that evening, I find myself sitting in Jake's living room, the weight of everything pressing down on me. The evidence of Claire's betrayal and our strategic moves against her are like pieces of a dark puzzle, each one fitting together to paint a picture I never wanted to see. Yet, I know we're not done. There are still secrets hidden in the shadows, and if I don't uncover them, they'll destroy me. Jake's phone buzzes, and he picks it up, his expression shifting as he reads the message. "It's my buddy from Cyber Investigations," he says, glancing at me. He found something. I lean forward, my heart pounding. "What is it?" Jake's grin fades, replaced by a serious look. "It's not good. Brandon's been using some of his clients' accounts to hide money transfers. There are shell companies and offshore accounts involved, some of them linked back to you and Claire's joint investments." I feel the blood drain from my face. "Are you telling me they're laundering money through my accounts?" "Looks that way," Jake confirms, his voice grim. "If this comes to light, it could ruin you. But if we get ahead of it, we can prove that you had nothing to do with it." I sink back into the couch, the enormity of the situation crashing over me. This isn't just a case of infidelity anymore. It's a full-blown conspiracy. Claire and Brandon aren't just betraying me emotionally. They're setting me up to take the fall for something that could ruin my life in ways I hadn't even imagined. How do we stop this? I ask, my voice cracking. Jake's jaw clenches. "We keep digging. We gather everything we can and hand it over to your attorney. If we can prove that they're the ones behind this, it'll turn the whole case on its head." A surge of determination pushes through my fear. "Let's do it," I say. "Whatever it takes." The next few days are a blur of strategy and surveillance. Jake and his contact work tirelessly to gather more evidence, while Simon files motions to protect me from any financial fallout. The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes that Claire and Brandon are up to their necks in something illegal, and they've been using me as a shield. Late one night, I sit alone in the darkened living room, my thoughts heavy. The betrayal cuts deeper than ever, but it's not just the emotional pain anymore. It's the realization that Claire never loved me the way I loved her. She was willing to destroy me to get what she wanted. The woman I thought I knew is nothing but a mask, hiding a stranger who cares only for herself. Jake comes in, breaking the silence. "You okay?" he asks, his voice low. I force a bitter smile. "Not really, but I will be." He sits down beside me, offering silent support. We both know this fight isn't over. The truth is out there, waiting to be fully revealed, and I'm ready to see it all, no matter how dark it gets. The next morning, Simon calls with news that sends a jolt of adrenaline through me. "Dylan," he says, "we've scheduled a meeting with Claire and her attorney. It's time to show our cards and see how they react." The moment I've been waiting for is finally here. The day of reckoning has arrived, and I'm ready to face Claire with everything we've uncovered. She's about to realize that the man she thought she could manipulate and destroy is far stronger and far more prepared than she ever imagined. The conference room is cold, sterile, and filled with a tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. I sit at the long mahogany table, my hands clasped tightly in front of me, forcing myself to appear calm. On the opposite side, Claire walks in, looking polished and confident, as if she hadn't just ripped my life to shreds. She's flanked by her attorney, a sharp-eyed man who oozes arrogance. Brandon isn't here, but his absence feels almost louder than if he'd shown up. Claire doesn't look at me, her expression carefully composed, but I notice the way her hands grip the folder she's holding. She's nervous. Good. My attorney, Simon, sits beside me, a mountain of calm, collected determination. He opens the meeting with a measured tone. "Thank you for coming today," he begins. "Before we proceed with the usual matters, we have some new evidence to present." Claire's attorney arches an eyebrow, and Claire's eyes flicker with something. Fear, perhaps. Simon slides a thick stack of papers across the table. These documents outline a series of financial transactions linked to offshore accounts and shell companies, he continues. Accounts that are suspiciously tied to our client, Dylan, but initiated by Brandon Telford. Claire's confident facade falters for a moment. She glances at the documents, then back at her attorney, who has suddenly lost some of his smugness. Simon doesn't miss a beat. We have reason to believe that Mr. Telford has been using my client's investments to launder money, and we have the digital footprint to prove it. Furthermore, any attempt to implicate Dylan in this scheme will not only be refuted but may lead to criminal charges against the true perpetrators. The silence is deafening. Claire's attorney clears his throat, but he looks rattled. This is quite the accusation, he says, trying to sound composed. Do you have proof? Simon leans back, a small, predatory smile on his lips. We have more than enough to bring this to the authorities, he replies. Unless, of course, Ms. Miller would like to settle things amicably. Claire's face goes pale. I finally let my gaze lock onto hers, and for the first time, I see genuine fear. The tables have turned, and she knows it. You're bluffing, she stammers, but her voice lacks conviction. Simon pushes forward another set of documents. Here are the timestamps of the transfers, messages between Claire and Brandon discussing the financial maneuvers, and emails that show premeditated intent. If you'd like to call our bluff, by all means proceed. The color drains from Claire's face entirely. Her attorney is now flipping through the documents, his expression darkening with every page. We may need to take a recess, he says, his confidence slipping. Simon nods. Take all the time you need. But understand that we're prepared to escalate this. And Dylan will not be painted as the villain. Claire finally looks at me, and in her eyes, I see a storm of emotions. Fear, anger, and perhaps a sliver of regret. But it's too late for that. She made her choices, and now she's reaping the consequences. As she and her attorney leave the room, I feel a weight lift off my chest. It's not over yet, but for the first time, I have hope. The truth is no longer a shadow hanging over me. It's a weapon I'm using to reclaim my life. Simon turns to me, a glint of satisfaction in his eyes. That went better than expected, he says. Now we wait to see how they respond. But make no mistake, Dylan, you're winning this. I nod, the adrenaline still coursing through me. Thanks, Simon, for everything. He smiles. We're just getting started. As I step out of the conference room and into the hallway, the weight of betrayal feels a little lighter. Claire thought she could destroy me, but she underestimated one thing, my will to fight. And I'm not done yet. I walk out of the building feeling like I can finally breathe. The city buzzes around me, cars honking and pedestrians hurrying past, but for the first time in weeks, I don't feel suffocated. The showdown in the conference room had gone better than I dared to hope, and the look on Claire's face was something I'd savor for a long time. Jake is waiting for me outside, leaning against my car. He straightens when he sees me, a hopeful look on his face. Well, he asks, his eyes searching mine. I give him a slow nod, a small grin tugging at the corners of my mouth. We shook them, I say. Simon laid it all out, and they were blindsided. I don't think Claire was expecting us to fight back this hard. Jake laughs, the sound full of relief. Hell yeah, man. I knew you had it in you. He claps me on the back, and for the first time in a long while, I feel like I'm not drowning anymore. I'm still in the middle of this storm, but at least now I have a boat and a paddle. We decide to celebrate the small victory by grabbing a drink at a nearby bar. It's a low-key place, the kind that serves whiskey neat and burgers without pretension. As we sit there, the reality of everything still weighs on me. But there's also a sense of momentum, of finally having some control over my fate. Jake raises his glass. To fighting back and not letting anyone screw you over, he toasts. I raise mine as well, clinking it against his. To not going down without a fight, I add, the resolve in my voice stronger than I feel. We're halfway through our drinks when my phone buzzes. I pull it out, my heart jumping at the sight of an incoming call from an unknown number. My first instinct is to ignore it, but something tells me I should answer. Hello? I say, my voice tense. Dylan. A voice on the other end says. It's Claire, and she sounds shaken, her confidence nowhere to be found. We need to talk. I grip the phone tighter. About what? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. There's a pause, and I can almost picture her, probably pacing back and forth, trying to decide how to play her next move. Look, I didn't know things would get this out of hand, she finally says. Can we please just talk somewhere privately? My first instinct is to tell her to go to hell, but I know better than to let my emotions take the wheel. If she's reaching out, it means she's scared. And scared people make mistakes. Fine, I reply, my voice flat. Where? She suggests a coffee shop on the other side of town, and I agree, though every part of me feels like I'm walking into enemy territory. When I hang up, Jake gives me a questioning look. What was that about? Claire, I say, setting my glass down. She wants to talk. Jake's brow furrows. You think she's trying to pull something? Probably, I admit. But if she's panicking, maybe I can get something useful out of her. He sighs, leaning back in his seat. Be careful, man. She's already blindsided you once. I will, I promise, though deep down, I know that facing Claire again is going to test every ounce of strength I have. But if this is what it takes to get the answers and the closure I need, then I'm ready to face her. The coffee shop is quiet, the kind of place where people come to work on their laptops or have hushed conversations. Claire is already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table with a cup of something steaming in front of her. She looks up when I approach, and for the first time, I see cracks in her armor. Her eyes are tired, her hands fidgety. I sit down across from her, the tension between us thick enough to suffocate. You wanted to talk, I say, keeping my tone neutral. Claire takes a shaky breath. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she says, her voice small. Brandon promised me everything would be okay, that we'd get away clean. The mention of Brandon makes my blood boil, but I keep my composure. Get away with what? I press, leaning in slightly. Using me as your financial scapegoat? She flinches, and it's the most genuine reaction I've seen from her in weeks. I didn't know he'd go that far, she whispers. I thought it was just a way to secure our future. But now, I'm scared, Dylan. He's not who I thought he was. For a brief moment, I see the Claire I once loved, the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. But that moment passes quickly, replaced by the reality of her betrayal. I steel myself, my voice like ice. Welcome to the club, Claire, I say. You're scared now? Well, so am I. But I'm not going to let either of you ruin me. Her eyes well up with tears, but I don't let myself feel pity. Whatever game she's playing, I'm ready. She made her choice, and I'm making mine. Claire's tears might have once softened me, pulled at some part of my heart, still holding on to the love we used to share. But now, they feel like another layer of manipulation, a tactic she's wielding to get what she wants. I refuse to fall for it. She wipes her eyes, trying to compose herself. I never wanted it to be like this, Dylan, she says, her voice trembling. Things got so complicated, and Brandon, he convinced me that we needed to protect ourselves. I sit back, crossing my arms. Protect yourselves? By setting me up for financial ruin? By filing a restraining order and locking me out of my own life? Her face crumples, but I notice the way her hands clench in her lap. She's not used to me fighting back, and that realization gives me strength. Brandon said it was the only way, she whispers. He has connections, influence. He made it sound like we'd be untouchable. Untouchable, I echo, the word sour on my tongue. You think you're untouchable, Claire? Because from where I'm sitting, you look pretty damn vulnerable right now. She flinches again, her defenses crumbling piece by piece. I made mistakes, she admits, her voice cracking. But I didn't realize how deep Brandon was into all of this. I thought he loved me. The bitterness in her confession almost makes me feel sorry for her. Almost. But I remind myself of the betrayal, the lies, and the way she used our marriage as a shield for her deceit. I have to stay strong. So why are you telling me this now? I ask, leaning forward. What do you want from me, Claire? She looks up, her eyes wide with desperation. I need help, she says. Brandon's changed. He's been making threats, saying if I back out, he'll make sure I go down too. I'm terrified, Dylan. You're the only one I can turn to. I feel a surge of anger. The audacity of her request is staggering. After everything she's done, she's asking for my help? But I bite back the rage, forcing myself to think clearly. If Brandon is as dangerous as she says, this might be the opening I need to unravel their entire scheme. Help you? I say, my voice laced with disbelief. You destroyed our marriage, ruined my life, and now you want my help? Her tears spill over again, but I don't let it sway me. I know I don't deserve it, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. But you're the only one who can stop him. Please, Dylan. I sit there, weighing my options. Helping her might expose Brandon, give me more leverage in this twisted game. But it could also be a trap, a way for her to manipulate me further. Every instinct screams at me to be careful. Fine, I say finally, my voice cold. I'll consider it, but on my terms, and only if it benefits me. Her face lights up with hope, and for a moment, I see the woman I once loved. But I push that thought away. This isn't about love or second chances. It's about survival. I stand up, throwing a few bills on the table to cover my coffee. We'll be in touch, I say, and walk away, feeling her gaze burning into my back. As I step out into the cool evening air, I know one thing for sure. I can't trust her. But maybe, just maybe, I can use her desperation to my advantage. I call Jake as soon as I'm back in the car. We've got a new angle, I tell him, and it involves taking down Brandon once and for all. Jake's voice crackles through the line, steady and sure. Let's do it then, whatever it takes. I hang up, my mind buzzing with plans. The game is changing, and I'm ready to make my next move. The next morning, I'm up before the sun, the weight of everything pressing down on me like a boulder. The house is quiet, but my mind isn't. Claire's plea for help replays in my head, her fear palpable. I don't trust her, how could I? But there's a chance to use her desperation against Brandon. It's a risk I have to take if I want to come out of this war with more than just shattered pieces. Jake meets me in the kitchen, already dressed, coffee steaming in his mug. You sure about this? He asks, his voice low, concern etched on his face. If she's playing you, it could backfire. Hard. I nod, though the uncertainty claws at me. I know, but I think she's really scared of Brandon. If we can use that, we might be able to expose everything he's done. We need more than just financial evidence. We need something that forces their hand. Jake rubs his jaw, clearly not convinced but willing to trust me. All right, but we stay 2 steps ahead of her, no matter what. If she's lying or leading us into a trap, we pull out. Got it? Got it, I agree, appreciating his loyalty more than I can express. We spend the morning laying out a plan. First, I'll meet with Claire again to see if she's willing to share anything tangible, emails, financial records, or details about Brandon's threats. Meanwhile, Jake will continue working with his cyber contact to dig deeper into Brandon's digital footprint. Every move we make has to be precise. One misstep could cost us everything. By mid-afternoon, I find myself driving to a park Claire suggested for our second meeting. It's a public place, busy with families and joggers, which makes it feel safer, though I know nothing is truly safe in this mess. Claire is sitting on a bench near the lake, her sunglasses hiding her eyes, but I can't see the way she tenses when I approach. Dylan, she says, her voice small. She looks thinner, more fragile than I remember. I don't let it soften me. What do you have for me? I ask, getting straight to the point. She takes a deep breath, then reaches into her purse, pulling out a small stack of papers. These are copies of emails Brandon sent me, she says, handing them over. Proof that he's been transferring money through our accounts and using my name to cover his tracks. He said if I ever tried to back out, he'd make sure it looked like I orchestrated the whole thing. I take the papers, my fingers shaking. The emails are damning, each one a piece of the puzzle that could finally bring Brandon down. But as I read, Claire's phone buzzes on the bench beside her. She glances at it, and her face pales. It's him, she whispers. Brandon. He's asking where I am. A cold fear grips me. If he suspects something, if he's watching her. You need to keep your composure, I say, my voice firm. Answer him. Act normal. Claire nods, her hands trembling as she types out a response. I watch her carefully, still unsure if she's playing me or genuinely terrified. Either way, the stakes have never felt higher. When she puts the phone down, I lean in. Listen to me, Claire. If we're going to stop him, we need to be smart. I'll take these emails to my attorney, but we need more proof, more leverage. Are you willing to get it? Her eyes meet mine, and for a moment, there's a flicker of the woman I once knew. I'll do whatever it takes, she says. Just promise me you'll keep me safe. The irony of her asking for my protection isn't lost on me, but I nod, playing the part. I'll do what I can, but don't cross me again, Claire. You won't like what happens if you do. She swallows, nodding. We part ways, and as I walk back to my car, I feel the tension coiled in my gut. This is a game of chess now, every move critical. I clutch the emails like a lifeline, knowing that this could be the break I need to bring Brandon, and maybe even Claire, down. But as I start the engine and drive away, a thought lingers in the back of my mind. If I miscalculate, I could lose everything. Or worse. As soon as I get back to Jake's, I show him the emails Claire handed over. He reads them with a hard expression, his jaw tightening as he takes in the details. This is damning, he says, but it's not enough on its own. Brandon's smart. He'll have contingencies in place if things start to go south. I nod, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. We need to hit him hard and fast before he realizes what we're planning. Jake leans forward, his voice lowering. There's one more thing, he says. My buddy found something else. Brandon has connections in law enforcement. A few old college friends who work in the DA's office. If he wants to twist the law in his favor, he could make things very difficult for you. My stomach drops. This isn't just a matter of catching him in his lies anymore. He has influence, and he won't hesitate to use it. So what do we do? I ask, desperation creeping into my voice. Jake's eyes harden. We need leverage. Something so big that even his friends can't protect him. We've got to get inside his operation. Find the smoking gun that will leave him defenseless. The thought of going deeper into this web of lies and danger makes my skin crawl, but I don't have a choice. Claire's betrayal was bad enough. But now, with Brandon's threats looming over us both, there's no room for error. Let's do it, I say, determination overriding my fear. The next day, Simon arranges a meeting with a private investigator, a grizzled man named Harris who has a reputation for uncovering the dirtiest secrets. We sit in his dimly lit office, the blinds drawn and the smell of old coffee lingering in the air. Harris listens as we lay out everything, Brandon's threats, the financial schemes, and the potential connections in the DA's office. He strokes his gray beard thoughtfully. You boys are in deep, he says, but there's always a way to turn the tables. We just need to hit Brandon where it hurts. And where's that? I ask, my voice tight. Harris grins, but there's no humor in it. His reputation. Guys like him thrive on their image, their power. If we can dig up something so damning it can't be swept under the rug, he'll fold. I hand over the emails Claire gave me, and Harris's eyes flicker with interest. Good start, he says. I'll follow the money trail, see where it leads. And I'll poke around to see if there are any skeletons in Brandon's closet. As we leave Harris's office, the weight of everything still hangs heavy, but there's a glimmer of hope. We're fighting back, taking the offensive. But deep down, I know this isn't just about winning anymore. It's about survival. That evening, as I sit in Jake's living room, my phone buzzes again. It's another unknown number, and my chest tightens with unease. I answer cautiously. Hello? Dylan. It's Brandon's voice, smooth and cold. We need to talk. My heart pounds in my chest, but I force myself to sound calm. I'm not interested in anything you have to say. He chuckles, a sound that sends chills down my spine. You should be. You see, I know you've been meeting with Claire, and I know you think you've got the upper hand, but you're playing a dangerous game, one you won't win. My hand tightens around the phone. Is that a threat? It's a promise, he says, his voice dropping. Back off, or I'll make sure you lose everything. Your money, your reputation, even your freedom. Don't think I won't follow through. He hangs up, leaving me in stunned silence. The threat is clear. Brandon isn't just a scorned lover or a crooked businessman. He's a predator, and I've become his prey. But if he thinks I'll back down, he's wrong. I put the phone down, my resolve hardening into steel. If Brandon wants to play rough, he'll find out that I'm willing to go even further. This ends now, one way or another. The air feels electric, heavy with tension as the night deepens. Brandon's threat echoes in my mind, his cold, confident voice making my pulse race. But the fear that once held me back is gone now, replaced by something sharper. A resolve to end this nightmare, no matter the cost. Jake finds me pacing in the living room, my fists clenched at my sides. "You okay?" he asks, his brow furrowed with concern. I stop and look at him, my voice steady. "Brandon called. He knows we're onto him, and he made it clear he won't back down. If we don't act fast, he'll bury me." Jake's jaw tightens, but he doesn't flinch. "Then we hit him where it hurts, just like Harris said." I nod, but there's something else eating at me. Claire. Her fear was genuine, and despite everything, a part of me wonders if she's in more danger than she realizes. I pull out my phone and scroll through our messages, the last one from her saying she'd try to get more evidence. It's a risk, but I have to know if she's still on our side. I send her a message. Asterisk, did you find anything? We don't have much time. Asterisk. Minutes pass like hours, but finally, my phone buzzes. Asterisk, meet me at the old warehouse near the docks. Midnight. I have something for you. Asterisk. Jake watches me with a skeptical look. You really trust her? He asks. I hesitate, but only for a moment. I don't know, I admit. But if she's telling the truth, this could be our chance to end Brandon's game. If it's a setup, well, then we'll know for sure. Jake sighs, running a hand through his hair. Then I'm coming with you. No way you're walking into this alone. We drive to the warehouse in silence, the city lights fading into darkness as we approach the docks. The place is desolate, rusted metal and broken windows casting long shadows under the moonlight. I park the car a block away, and Jake and I slip out, keeping to the shadows as we approach. Claire is there, standing near the warehouse entrance, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold. She looks up as we approach, and even in the dim light, I can see the fear etched into her face. Dylan, she whispers, her voice shaking. I didn't think you'd come. I keep my distance, Jake at my side. You said you had something, I reply, my voice cold but controlled. Let's see it. She glances around, her paranoia palpable. Brandon's been moving money through offshore accounts, but it's more than that, she says, handing me a flash drive. I found records, payments to people I think are law enforcement, politicians. He's paying them off, Dylan. If this comes out, he's done. I take the flash drive, my hand brushing hers, but I pull back quickly. And what about you? I ask. What's your angle in all of this? Tears well up in her eyes, but she doesn't let them fall. I'm trapped, she whispers. He said he'd ruin me if I ever betrayed him, but I'm done being his pawn. I want this to end. The vulnerability in her voice almost breaks through my walls, but before I can respond, headlights sweep across the lot, followed by the low rumble of an approaching engine. Claire's eyes widen in panic. He's here, she breathes. Jake and I spin around, and sure enough, a black SUV pulls up, its windows tinted. The doors open, and several men step out, one of them unmistakably Brandon. He's dressed in a tailored suit, but his expression is anything but composed. Well, he calls out, his voice dripping with mock amusement. A little midnight meeting? How cozy. My heart pounds, but I force myself to stay calm. It's over, Brandon, I shout back. We have everything we need to expose you. He laughs, the sound echoing off the metal walls. Do you think I didn't see this coming? He sneers. You're in over your head, Dylan. And now, I'm going to make sure you regret every move you've made. The men with him step forward, their hands hovering near their jackets. Jake tenses beside me, but before things can escalate, the sound of sirens pierces the air. Red and blue lights flash, and squad cars flood the lot, surrounding us all. Brandon's face twists in rage. What the hell is this? He demands. I hold up my phone, which has been live-streaming the entire encounter to the authorities. Insurance, I say, my voice steady. I told you I wasn't going down without a fight. The police rush in, and chaos erupts. Brandon tries to make a run for it, but they tackle him to the ground, handcuffing him as he shouts threats and curses. Claire collapses, sobbing in relief, and Jake grips my shoulder, his expression a mixture of shock and pride. It's over. The nightmare, the lies, the manipulation, all of it. As Brandon is hauled away, I feel the weight lift from my chest. I've fought, I've survived, and I've come out stronger. Claire looks up at me, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and regret. "Dylan," she whispers, but I shake my head. "You made your choices," I say, my voice firm but not unkind. "Now, I have to make mine." With Jake beside me, I walk away from the past and toward whatever future waits, knowing that this war has forged me into someone unbreakable. Asterisk, have you ever faced a betrayal that changed your life forever? Share your story in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this tale of revenge and redemption, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. Asterisk.